All right, guys and gals, we're on live tonight with Mike Nichols from Iowa, multi-time national champion, and I believe the all-time winningest IMCA driver. Mike, good to have you on tonight.
All right, thanks for having me.
Mike, I'll just we'll wait. We'll give a couple of minutes here and get some people on here, and we'll kind of find out how the season's been going, what your plans are the rest of the year, and kind of what the future holds for you. First, Mike, I think you've up to about 13 wins this year. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
13 wins. I guess you're back on pace for what you've done in the previous years. Is that about right?
Yeah. I mean, we've been racing about the same amount, and the win percentage is right around 50%. So usually, if you can keep that, about the 50% range or whatever, you'll be kind of right there at the end of the year.
Right. Mike, what's the rest of the year look like? I mean, what tracks are you running weekly, and what's your goal for at the end of the year?
So I've been running part-time over at the US 30 Speedway in Columbus. That's not been an every week thing. But in Fridays, we've run at the Crawford County Speedway in Denison, Iowa. Saturdays at the Shelby County Speedway in Harlan, and Sundays at the Dawson County Raceway in Lexington, Nebraska.
Yeah, so. I knew you about 4 nights a week. So I know it's hard for you to jump on these deals because you're probably working on your car during the week. And I know you got a full-time job. A lot of people don't realize that you actually work 40 plus hours a week, I'm sure, in your regular job. And then you go home at night, work on the car to get it ready to race all weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a lot to it. Yeah, I get teased all the time, like, how do you find the time to do that or whatever? But I've got, a great bunch of guys that help out on the car or whatever. So we were actually working on it earlier tonight. So
right,
made some time. So I'm actually in the vehicle with my wife. We were going to head to dinner, during this. So,
well, tell Nate I appreciate her giving me about 15, 20 minutes here to jump on it. I do these deals. I think it's important because a lot of times, guys across the country may not get to see you in person, or, they hear about you and know your wins and stuff, but they don't actually get to see your face and get to hear you talk. So I always enjoy getting people in the industry on and kind of telling. I'm sure you're looking at another national title this year. I mean, I'm sure that was your goal when you started at the beginning of the year.
We kind of quit actually chasing the national titles here several years ago. The biggest thing we want to do is support weekly racing. And that's one thing I think a lot of racers have lost sight of, is the support of weekly racing. The chasing the specials has become, I guess kind of the in thing or whatever. But, in my opinion, if it wasn't for weekly racing, we wouldn't even have specials. It's hard for sponsors at the racetracks to really understand that, that there's going to be one race, or whatever. It's easier to have those guys on board for an entire season. So, speaking from someone that actually has promoted a racetrack as well. So to me, it's important to not lose focus and lose sight of the weekly racing.
Yeah, and I talked about that with just some local guys here that, like you said, a lot of people chase money or, just run a few times. And it makes it hard on the local track trying to keep the doors open week to week. It's hard to race just 2 or 3 times a month and, a promoter make it. So it's good to see somebody like you try to go out and support, 3 or 4 nights a week, local tracks. And, I think that's a big deal for racing, no doubt about it. Mike, I know I've talked about it a little bit. We talked a little bit at the class that, are you planning on doing the Batesville 50,000 this year? Is that something that you're looking at?
So that is one special that is on our calendar. We've actually just been looking at motels and such here in the last week or so. So yeah, that is something that we are planning on.
Yeah, and I'll get to see you then. That's only about 4 hours for me, so it'll be close, from down south. Should be good, never raced at Batesville, but, big 3/8 mile, and it should be a lot of fun. Always been great racing. I've been going for 20 plus years there. So it should be a great show with a lot of cars. I'm sure of that kind of money online.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to run at new places, and to me, just by looking at the videos and stuff, it looks like Batesville kind of matches up to my driving style. So I'm kind of excited to try to take that on, and hopefully we got the car rolling good at the there towards the end of the year.
Right. Mike, I'll throw a couple questions out here, and we'll see if anybody's got any questions, for you. So I won't keep you on all night so you can go eat. But
no problem.
Mike, what's been the difference this year? I know technology's changed. We done a class 2 or 3 years ago, then we done one this year. And I know even in that time, me and you talked about shocks and some different things that's changed. What have you seen in your program that's changed from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago till now?
I'd say the biggest thing has been springs. I don't know that the actual springs themselves have changed a lot. Although some of the guys might tell you that they have, but in my opinion, it's just the spring technology has changed a little bit, and kind of where the direction of your race car. You're kind of using springs, or at least we are using springs now in the place of where we tried to do our shocks 5 years ago. So now we need to change our shock program around the spring program to complement each other.
Right. Mike, we got a question that popped up real quick, and I knew it would come up. Any tips on grooving info for the new IMCA rule? Is that something you've already gotten back your mind?
This is new to me, just like it's new to everybody else. So it's going to be a total learning process. I also, in my opinion, I think IMCA jumped the gun a little bit. They didn't execute this rule like they should have. In hindsight, I'm sure that they're going to reconsider this, but what they ought to have said was that the tires could be grooved in the original pattern. Now, when they just open it up to grooving altogether, it's very subjective, and basically you want to buddy up to as many late model guys as you can that have had ultimate experience grooving tires for specific track conditions. So I'm going to be leaning on my resources, just like other guys will as well, to try to find that advantage with the tire.
Yeah, and I'm sure not being able to groove them just about your whole career, do you think a grooved tire is going to make a lot of difference in probably how the car handles and that kind of stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's it's probably a night and day thing. One thing I do know about our Hoosier G60s is that the rubber is not terribly deep. So as far as how much you can groove, it's not a tire that's designed to be grooved. So with that being said, it's not like you can really groove, a whole lot and make a whole new tire out of it. But the pattern that you can put into the tire, I think, is going to be, a big deal. So the guys that really figure that out and have the grooves for each corner of the car, are the guys that are going to be the furthest ahead on this rule, faster than the next guy. And of course, the other issue is, of course, the time constraints. Here we were already spending, hours and hours every week, trying to sipe tires, and now grooving tires. I don't know that there is an easy way to do that. So it's going to be a lot more hours in the shop. So I totally understand where we're coming from with a tire shortage, but it definitely adds a lot of work into the mix.
Yeah, and a guy made the comment, I can't see his name right now, but he said that he learned in a class that you was to get your fuel and tires bought at the start of the year, and that's probably something you had mentioned in the classes in years past. So, if you was able to do that early in the year and you had enough tires to get through the year, you're probably going to be ahead of most people right now.
Oh, and that's absolutely right. That's something we've tried to do for the last several years, is to purchase all of our tires at the beginning of the year. This year, I didn't get all of the particular sizes that I wanted, but I am sitting decent on tires for another month or so. But here towards the end of the year, I'm going to be in the same boat as everybody else. But getting back to that original question, I do believe that there's some merit into how you groove the tires, and grooving the tires is probably going to trump new tires in general. So if you figure out the right way to groove them, it's probably going to create a better tire than just having a new tire on the car.
And I know he's going to get some questions. So right before your wife shoots us both and you need to go eat, you let me know, because
you're good. You're good.
Okay. A guy asked, do you prefer a heavier spring package or softer spring package in the front of your car?
I don't know that there's a heavy or a soft, but I've basically gone to a softer spring package the longer we've been racing, to try to get weight transfer over to the right front. One of the biggest things that we've noticed this year has been the adjustment to the Brinn transmission, which the Brinn is now legal. Bert Brinn and aftermarket transmissions are legal in the IMCA stock car class. But what we've noticed is you're taking 30 pounds plus out of the center part of your car, and what I think is happening is you're losing some of that weight inertia to help the weight transfer over to the right rear and the right front. So with that being said, you have to manipulate that with springs or shocks. So that has tended to push us towards the softer package.
Right. Mike, I know, we'll touch on it here quick. We had another great class this year in Nebraska, even though it was about 30 below zero, but another great class. We filled it up. I beat a tornado. I mean, I beat a snowstorm home by about an hour when I left in the middle of the night. So, but we had another great class, and I've been asked what the plans are next year, and I know me and you hadn't really discussed it. I try not to bother you during the middle of race season, but we'll definitely look somewhere in the Midwest again next year. I'm sure. We'll get everybody back on board and try to find the right location, and we'll try to do it again. I know we were kind of into the COVID deal, and there was still some people a little nervous about that. And I know we didn't get it out as quick as we normally do. So, we'll try to do a better job this year of planning a date that works. It's just, we talked about it so hard. You only have a couple of 2 or 3 months to really do these deals, and you got vacations, and then now racing in Texas starts so soon. We run into that this year. So, but we'll try to get something out and hopefully get back in the Midwest somewhere, whatever makes sense for everybody.
Sure. And one thing I'd like to point out, Brian, is, this past year was my first year with you in a few years. And I was impressed. The guys that haven't gone to a class in a few years, I think the program has come a long ways. So how you basically have we had our car there, and we were able to do basically the close up with the camera, and then in a way that everybody at the class could see it, and not necessarily like everybody's just gathered around and only the guys that are up front can see it, but you had everything on the big screen there. So I think that's a huge advantage. The class has come a long ways, and it was very impressive to me, and something I was excited to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I worked on. I'm probably like you. I wake up in the middle of the night and think of things, throughout the year that I need to do. And that was something that I woke up one night and said, you know what? I don't know why we don't put this on TV with all the cameras. And, Kate Dillon being involved this year. And, she's a huge asset to us. And so anyway, yeah, we was able to do that and get the big screens up so guys in the back. And Mike, you probably don't, like I said, I try not to bother you during race season. I know, 4 nights a week, but we've had a lot of guys that's won races that came out of the class, and a lot of them had never won a race before. So, I know that's important to you as well as it is to me. That's why we keep doing these deals.
Yeah. Yeah. I like seeing that, with the guys that are excited to, that they've used the information that they learned. So I see that up on your page all the time, and that's important. And it makes you feel good about, what you've been trying to do, because racing is not an inexpensive hobby. And and it eliminates, that potentially that you could have had, trying to learn that information.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's just a lot of guys, 5 or 6, and I believe one guy that Wendell helps has won 4 or 5 in a row at one point. So, that was good, and I don't think he won a race last year. He credited it to you and Wade and Dave and everybody in the class, that helped him. So, that's always important that we keep doing this. I mean, it's more than the money. It's more than all that. If we can help a racer, that's running in the back and he's tired, he wants to quit because he's not competitive, and now he's competitive, or he wins a heat race or a feature, then that makes him want to keep doing it. So that's definitely important.
Yeah, and it's I know we say this at every class that we've done together, but what you put into it. So if you come there with an open mind and you ask plenty of questions, you're going to get a lot out of the class. And I know I can definitely tell the guys at the end of the class, who are going to get the most out of it. So it's always interesting to see those names show up, like in those posts that you're talking about, that, all of a sudden, they hadn't been winning, and now they're winning, 4 races in a row, or 5 races in a row. So that's really, really cool to see.
Yeah. Mike, like I said, I won't keep you on just a couple more minutes here, but I do appreciate you coming on, like I said earlier. And, it's important to I think you probably heard me in these videos say I got a face for radio. Nobody really wants to hear me. but I've never been one to do this, but, Kate Dillon's one that, she said, Brian, you really need to do these because you have a big audience, and, people want to get on. Like I said, they've heard of Mike Nichols, but they may not ever seen him or know anything about his racing career. So, I think it's important, and I keep doing these and try to get guys on, and it's a lot easier for you to do going down the road 10 or 15 minutes, a couple times during the season. But, looks like another great year. Have you struggled any, Mike, or has it been a pretty good year?
Yeah, actually, it has been a struggle. And then, going back to that aftermarket transmission thing, I think that's been probably the biggest learning curve. And we're still learning. We're still making adjustments. So back to the point of the last question that you had, I started out with 1,000-pound right front, and we're down to a 900-pound right front spring. So I don't know if we're going to get any lighter than that, but it's we've tended to have to go lighter, and we've gone lighter in our right rear. Typically, I was at a 250, and I'm down to a 225 in the right rear. So just tend to be dropping spring rates, basically because what I feel is that weight and that inertia that's missing, in the center part of the car. So
right.
But it's been a total learning curve, something that, you definitely wouldn't have thought about otherwise. But once we started running the transmission and I was able to feel certain things in the car, I was feeling things that were lacking, and we've just made adjustments, and we've been getting closer and closer every week.
Mike, we'll finish up with this one last question here. Like I said, I know you need to go eat some supper, and I hadn't ate either. Guy asked, how soft a left rear spring have you played with, and what do you recommend?
Well, I've been down to like 100. My go-to is 150-pound left rear spring. When I feel like I get to 125 and lighter, the car feels a little erratic and more difficult and more inconsistent to drive. So I felt like kind of the 150 is the right number. If you're into the loading of energy in your left rear spring, which we are, I think the 150 is the right number. Well,
Mike, hey, I appreciate you coming on tonight. you know, like I said earlier, and thanks to Anita for letting you give me a few minutes here, because I know she don't get to see you nearly enough during this time of the year. So I appreciate that, and we'll get you back on here in another 2 or 3 months, maybe before Batesville or something, to kind of see how the season went, and hopefully by then we'll be talking about a date and a class and where we're going to do it at. You know, we'll try to get it out a little earlier. We'll start looking at everybody's schedule, and so we can all try to get on board and, you know, try to get that, you know, something scheduled early this year.
Yeah, it sounds great, Brian. I appreciate you having me on, and look forward to doing it again.
Okay, Mike, I'll check back with you here in a couple of months or so at the end of the season, and we'll kind of see how it went and what the rest of the year looks like. Okay.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, bud.
Bye-bye.